houses,
Yeah.
you know.
Dennis, we'll talk. I think we know who we'll talk to about doing that. And I know it's hard to ID, but if you have problems like that,
I would've went over and
so.
Talked to him, but I had to be at Indy in an hour.
Yeah.
I couldn't get over there, so I went and seen the manager.
Yeah.
He finally got back with me today, who he thought it
Is
was.
that Shutner? The manager? Okay. Okay. If he does. Mr. Bob.
I got three things we'll talk to you about. First, we talked last month about a couple of you coming over for Safety Day.
I haven't talked to John about
That's
that.
Saturday, right?
All right, we're having the staff meeting is from 9 to 12, which I don't think there's any purpose to be served there because they're all pretty much on board with what's going on. But for the general population, or what I call the jumpers, fun jumpers, they're the ones that I think need this. I think we're light years ahead of where we were this time last year in terms of cooperation. I've asked Dennis tonight, I guess Mark didn't tell him, but and I mentioned to Mark last month, I asked them to come over as well and speak to that group, which will be from 1 to 5 o'clock. I think the earlier we could do this, the better, because once they get into the safety part of it, it's hard to stop and start. So if we could, you could address everybody as close to one, closer to one, and same thing with Dennis and with Mark or whoever else wants to come. I'd like to do that before we get into, and also too, keep you from having to wait, because some of these sections may go an hour, and if you get there at the wrong time, you may have to wait a while. So if we could get you there as early to 1 o'clock as possible. If there's anything that I need to address with my staff prior to that, if you'd let me know ahead of time, then I can do that as well. My next request, we talked about this last year, and at the time, Matt Bailey, I think was the attorney, the aviation attorney, and I had asked about consideration for a better rate for fuel based on our quantities. And he was of the opinion that it was against the law. Well, it cost me a couple $100, but I found out that wasn't anywhere close to accurate. Virtually every major airport in the state is offering quantity discounts. The key is you can't just offer it to one. You have to offer it to anybody that buys that kind of quantity. You can't give preferential treatment to somebody. But if somebody's buying whatever you set as your guideline for a larger volume of fuel and willing to give them a break in the price, anybody should be eligible for it. That's the only stipulation on the books, the state of Indiana. And based on our volume, which is thousands and thousands of gallons every year, we're trying to keep our costs down just like everybody else.
You know who you talked to?
I'm sorry?
You know who you talked to? Was that the state?
Oh, I had an attorney. I hired an attorney.
Could he give us a letter, state what, state code or whatever goes with it?
Sure. I'm sure he would.
If you do that.
Probably cost me a couple $100 more, but you know, another possibility would be if you would talk to virtually any major airport in the state of Indiana, I think they'll be more than happy to tell you what the rules are without having to go to more expense. Virtually all of them are doing it. I know Richmond, Goshen, Terre Haute. I'm trying to remember, there's a couple up in the northern part of the state, but it's not against the law. And if I wasn't buying a lot of fuel, it'd be different. Like I said, we're trying to keep our costs down, and the more people we can have out there, I think the more beneficial it's going to be to Greensburg. Because one thing we know is they do spend money when they're here, whether it be at the park or wherever in town. I think in the long run, it's going to work out for everybody.
Okay. Anything else? You said anything?
I think the other was the fact that we're going to talk to Dennis and Mark about coming as well. I just want to establish the time.
All right. The next thing they did is the police got the last correspondence I got from our attorney. He was dealing with the Wickenses, Don Wickens, the attorney, and was kind of waiting for a response from the other side of the fence. The next thing, all business, the doors. The doors are expected in hopefully this week. And we'll be putting them up right away as soon as possible. Let's put it that way. after we get up to 3 electric doors.
We had, was it last Wednesday, those high winds, and we didn't have any trouble then?
That's how I know that. Yes, sir.
I remember the third thing. Do we know any more about the county wanting to move the horse arena up under the airport?
That's being discussed tonight at the 4-H Fair Board. I don't know where it stands. I gave Roger Dumont a copy of the drawing so that he can talk to him about it. It's really not a good idea, in my opinion, to put the horse barn up near the airport.
Hopefully common sense will prevail because those kids with airplanes close by, not to mention parachutes. It's only going to take one horse.
I personally know from the fact that when that was said to the horse people, they didn't want anything to do with that. And that is correct. It is going back to the board tonight to say, look, we'd rather stay where we are than be moved up there. So.
I cannot imagine.
So common sense did prevail.
Put horses with airplanes. I mean, with the noise from airplanes.
Moving on to new business, we need a motion to approve the sign for the grant.
Yeah, this is the grant, to clarify it, from the Don told us about last week at the airport, from the airport trust fund of $277,000.
284,
Yeah.
284, 940.
Yeah,
But it's 270.
Oh, the federal.
680 is from the federal share of it.
Okay.
That's what needs signed.
And we're looking for approval for Bill to sign, is that correct? Authorization for Bill to sign for
Can
the
you give me
grant.
the total, please, again, of the federal?
I'll have to call you and give the exact amount.
270693 is what's in the minutes.
Yeah, 270693.
Thank you. Yes, I got it.
Right. Correct, yeah, and the state shares 7124.